Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing. And today, we've got another combination that a lot of you guys really requested to see after the last time we tested this setup and choke combo. And it's definitely one that I want to test as well. And it might actually help us get a little bit better of an idea of, well, is this choke actually doing anything or is it worth it or not? Because this is another very popular, very standard loading that a lot of people use. So if it actually is doing anything, we should be able to tell a little bit of a difference. But as for the shell we've got out here today, I brought out some of the good old Remington Express buckshot shells. These ones are your typical 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 9 pellet load of double-aught buck moving about 1325 feet per second. So if you've ever run any kind of buckshot, chances are you have at least some experience with these. So definitely nothing special or exciting as for a load, but one that should give us somewhat of a decent performance, especially if this choke is actually doing anything for our pattern or not. And as for the setup we've got out here today to run them through, I brought out the Remington 1187 here. So we know this is a very proven, consistent performing, patterning shotgun here, especially when it comes to buckshot loads like this. It typically does very well with them. But as for the choke, I brought out the Kicks Buck Kicker full choke again. Now this did give us some pretty decent looking results last time we tested it with some of the Federal shells. Now this one is the Buck Kicker full. You can get a light full and an extra full. This one is right in the middle, and to the best that I am able to measure it, it is a 693 constriction, so very typical full choke type of range. But is it actually worth anything or doing anything over a standard full choke? I don't know. We're going to see as we continue to test it. But as for the test today, everything is the same as usual. I've got the big sheet of paper set up at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph so we can get our velocity, as well as some templates we can lay up over our target, kind of get a better reference point as to how it actually patterned. So let's get you guys a view of this target and take this shot and just see what this 2 3/4 Remington double-aught buck does through this Kicks Buck Kicker. Okay, so that shell gave us 1224 through the chrono. The box does claim 1325, so we're 101 under that claim. I honestly can't remember if these typically run right at the claim or a little above or a little below. Either way, I mean, 1224 is still perfectly fine for a loaded double-aught buck like that. So I wouldn't say there's anything too strange up here as far as velocity goes. It's still plenty good enough. But how does our pattern actually look down there at 40 yards? Let's go check it out and see what we got. All right, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. We had all 9 of our pellets on the paper. We were just a touch off to the right. I do actually think that was me pulling it a touch right, not actually the setup. So that one's on me. But either way, what we see down here is a really good looking pattern, especially for being a basic kind of classic old Remington buckshot shell like that. At 40 yards, I did measure it, and our total spread is 14.5 inches, and that is from the very top pellet to that very bottom left corner pellet. So 14.5 inches at 40 yards, that's getting down there into flight control type of territory. So really good as far as the numbers go. Now we did have these 2 flyers clearly up here at the top, but that seems to be a pretty common occurrence for a 9 pellet loaded double-aught buck like this, to have at least 1, maybe 2 flyers sometimes, because the rest of our pattern is clearly nice and grouped together down here a little bit lower. So definitely nothing unusual looking as far as flyers go, but really that is a beautiful looking buckshot pattern as far as the overall size of it goes. Down here at 40 yards, 14 inches or so, I'll take that all day long. But let's throw a couple templates up here and get a little bit better reference point as to how it would have done in some more real life type of scenarios. I probably will go ahead and take the liberty of scooting them a couple inches over to the right. Since I know that I pulled this shot a little bit to the right, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt on this one. Either way, let's start with that 10-inch circle and see what kind of a core area we actually have. Okay, so here's that 10-inch circle, and as you can see, we have 5 out of the 9 pellets within there. Those couple flyers definitely make it so we have a little bit of a void at the top half of our core if we actually center this up with the main central part of the entire pattern. But still, 5 pellets is on the top end of average into that pretty good looking numbers range for a 9 pellet loaded double-aught buck, and 5 pellets going through a vital sized area like that, absolutely going to do the job on whatever you need to use it for. So looking pretty decent here as far as our 10-inch circle. But let's throw a couple animal templates up here and see how it would have done in some more hunting type of scenarios. Alright, so here's our deer template, and I did scoot it just a touch over to the right since we did pattern a little bit off. Either way, we can clearly see here that we have all 9 of the pellets within a general deer vital sized area. So yeah, that would have been absolutely devastating, and I don't think that deer would have went very far at all. So definitely looking very good here. You can't really argue with that too much. Sure, I'd kind of like to see those flyers down there with the rest of them, but still, that is just going to be devastating on any kind of deer you would ever use it for. So definitely looking very good here, but let's just throw the hog template up here as well to get a little reference point on a little bit smaller of an animal. I think it's going to be pretty much the same story, but we'll take a quick look at it anyway, just to see what it looks like. Okay, here's that hog template, and yeah, it's pretty well the exact same story. Sure, I probably could have scooted that over just a touch more to the right, but still, we can clearly see that it would be devastating, to say the least. Hogs are pretty tough animals, but if you're hitting them with 8 or 9 pellets of double-aught buck at 40 yards or so, they're not going to go very far on you, I can tell you that. So definitely looking very impressive here today as far as the numbers go. 14.5-inch spread at 40 yards, I'll take that all day long. And for a pretty overall basic, not anything too special load of Remington double-aught buck, it kind of does look like that Kicks buck kicker full is doing a little bit of something for our pattern. I don't think these have ever shown us a terrible pattern necessarily, but I definitely think 14.5 inches is better than what we had seen previously last several times we've tested them. So once again, it seems like this buck kicker might be helping our patterns out a little bit. So is it worth it? So far, it's kind of looking like it might be, depending on what setup you have. So definitely looking pretty good here as far as results go today, that's for sure. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and yes, some of the newer Remington Buckshot Express loads do have these wads in them, which is not typically something we had seen with the older loads, and I definitely think it makes a little bit of a difference for us, that's for sure, because we've tested Remington shells with and without this wad in them, and the ones with the wad definitely perform quite a bit better. Now, as you can see, very basic wad design. This one is crumpled up just a little bit, but that is very common when going through a kicks choke, whether it be a turkey choke or apparently this buck kicker as well. The porting design they have does rough up the wads quite a bit, but still, I think it pretty well did what it was supposed to do for us today. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that performance right there? Definitely can't really argue too much with that. I mean, 14.5-inch spread at 40 yards. I'll take that. Now, I guess we could get nitpicky and say, yeah, there was 2 flyers up there at the top. But if you've done any kind of testing with double-aught buck, 1 or 2 flyers is very common for loads like that for one reason or another. So that's definitely not anything too unusual to see. But at the end of the day, although these newer Remington Express shells with the wads in them have been some pretty decent performers across the board, I still think there might be a little bit of something to that buck kicker choke. Now, of course, I want to test it with a bunch of different loads that are loaded in a different style to see if it makes a difference with those, but so far anyway, for the couple initial tests we've done, it's been looking pretty decent. So definitely not too much to complain about here today, that's for sure. But let me know what you guys think down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? You have any experience with these Kicks buck kicker chokes? And if so, what kind of patterns have you seen out of them? Is there a certain load combination that really works well through it? And would you actually hunt with a pattern like that or a shell and choke combo like that? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.